At Direct Service Garage Doors, we are your one-stop shop for all things garage door. From garage door repair and broken spring replacement to new garage doors and openers, we do it all. We're proud to be among the highest-rated local garage door companies in all of Northwest Arkansas. Our highly trained technicians are available 24 hours a day at no extra cost to you. So if you have an emergency, call us today, 479-203-5880, or visit our website at directservicenwa.com. Don't wait days. We'll fix it now.
All right, 3, 2, 1. Yo! What's going on, Arkansas Razorback fans? Welcome to Hogville Net YouTube. I am Ty Hudson. It's our Thursday. Typically would be our preview show, but Arkansas doesn't play anybody, obviously, on this bye week. So we're going to get caught up on a lot of other stuff because there's actually quite a bit that's happened. Well, I mean, over the week already, we got to talk to Sam Pittman yesterday. We won't be talking to anybody the rest of the week. So, and with there not being a game, we're going to talk about recruiting, Taurean Carter news. We've also got injury updates, guys getting healthy. So, alongside me, Otis Kirk, the legend. How are you doing, Otis?
Oh, hey, I don't know about a legend, but no, I'm doing good, man. Glad to be back.
Razorback royalty is what Andrew Chambly's dad called you. Said Razorback royalty is in the house a little while back. All right.
You've been pretty kind. I think you've been very kind on that one. I don't consider myself royalty.
So yeah, we've had kind of an interesting week. We know basketball's around the corner, of course. Baseball's it'll be here before you know it. It's kind of crazy how quick this time of year goes by. You guys make sure you wander on over to hogville.net for all the free content. Otis Kirk, Dudley Dawson, Kevin McPherson, they all have you covered. And while you're here, make sure you slap the like button. I often say on the Tuss Talk show to Tombstone Pile Drive the like button. You could do the same thing here. You could do that, subscribe, and share the content. All right. And by the way, if you have any comments, they'll pop up on the screen like that if we deem them worthy. So, yeah, John says he made it. Let's get this started off. First off, I wanted to say just to kind of of course, a special shout out to Direct Service Overhead, the garage door company. This is the show's sponsor, so we are very thankful to them. Mississippi State announces passing of walk-on lineman Sam Westmoreland. So I just want to say an RIP, rest in peace to him. Thoughts and prayers, of course, are with him and his family, his friends, and of course the Mississippi State Bulldogs. That's pretty unfortunate, Otis. Arkansas has also experienced this before in the past, several years back, losing a young man in the prime of his life.
Garrett Ekman, yeah, right after they had played in Little Rock the night before, or that day before. 19's too young to die. I mean, I just went through a bad illness, but I'm a lot older than 19, man. I mean, when you see a 19-year-old die, it really gets unfortunate. I mean, sad. Pray for the family. Wish them the best. I mean, you just don't know. Really, you don't know what to say. I mean, I've never lost words, but I am a deal like that because you don't. I mean, it's like, you just don't know what to say because, I mean, you don't expect to get a call that your 19-year-old son or daughter is dead. I've never had to experience that, and thank God I never will because my kids are older than that now. But I don't know what I would have done if I'd have got a call that said your son is dead at 19. I had 3 sons, and I just, I don't know how I don't know how I'd handle that. It would have been tough, and I've lost my dad, lost my mother. But if you had a 19-year-old son or a son, period, that died, it'd devastate me. It would. I don't know if I could have handled that, Ty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'd be brutal. I obviously I'm too young to have anyone that age. My kids are both 10 and will be 8 actually here in a week and a week and a day. But I've got some little ones, but that's tough. So again, rest in peace, and thoughts and prayers are with the family. All right, let's get caught up on what do I have first up here? We've got recruiting updates. You asked Sam about recruiting yesterday. You asked him if he was done with the high school recruiting class for this 2023 class. Just kind of, I guess, summarize, what does that mean? What did he tell you, just for the folks who may have missed that? And also, I was gonna ask you about a Vyson Lang update, the offensive lineman.
Vyson's going to Tennessee. He is going to go to Tennessee. I know Arkansas is still trying on him, but I feel confident he's going to Tennessee. He canceled his Arkansas visit for the Alabama game, took his visit the week before to Tennessee, got caught up in the hype there. And at one point, it looked like he was a private commitment to Arkansas. He would probably deny that, but I can tell you he was a private commitment to Arkansas. But and that's the truth. He told me that, there's some kids out there that there's still 2 or 3, and maybe Vison's one of them, that they would take if they could get them. But, and I also more or less asked him, are you looking at the transfer portal to restock the defense? And, I asked him that too. And he said, and it's pretty obvious that's what the answer was going to be, was because they got some issues back. They need to recruit a bunch of defensive backs. But there is a chance he can still add a high school kid or two. What you're looking at there, Ty, is you're looking at some studs that are maybe committed elsewhere, or they're still messing with them to a degree. Arkansas is. And in this day and age, coaches can get fired, coaches can leave, coaches can change jobs, and maybe a kid that you think is not coming, but you won't keep in contact with him because something could happen at that school that could change his mind, So, they did that with Jaden Johnson a few years ago. The safety was committed to South Carolina. Will Muschamp gets fired, the kid comes to Arkansas. So you never want to, if you really want a kid, you never want to burn your bridges with him, because there was always a chance, and really don't now, because here's the deal. You might get him if the coach leaves or something, but if nothing else, you might get him after a year or two when he's in the transfer portal. It's changed so much now. You never really burn your bridge with a kid, because even if you lose him or if you don't get him, I guess you can't lose what you don't ever have. But even if you don't get him in the initial class, a year or two later, he may come back to Arkansas. So you never – now it's a changed recruiting game. It really changed with the transfer portal. But, he's still looking at some kids. I look for them. I don't really look for them to add anyone. They could. But, like I said, unless there's some extenuating circumstances with coaches or whatever, I'm sure they're watching that Auburn situation, Ty. There's a receiver there that they're interested in at Auburn. It's been committed for a while. And there's some other players. You always want to look at the situation, because you never know what's going to happen at a certain school. And so you really got your eye on something if you think it could. And we all know something could happen at Auburn.
Looking at the 2023 recruiting class, they do have, I think it's 5 defensive backs committed, if you're not including Dylan Haas. And I know Micah Teese can actually play on both sides of the ball, but the expectations there is he's going to play wide receiver. But Dallas Young, Christian Ford, R.J. Johnson, T.J. Metcalf, and Jalen Braxton. Really like.
Dylan will be a defensive back, and Braxton is a stud, man. I'm telling you, that kid he's got a chance to come in and play cornerback immediately. He's that good. Right now, there's some services out there that got him ranked the number 2 recruit in commitment in the Arkansas class, right behind Shamar Easter, who, by the way, I went and saw 1 week ago today. I was about this time I was leaving Mena to go to Ashdown. So, I was in Mena, and then about this time I was going through Mena, and John and I was heading to Ashdown. So, Braxton's a really good player. All those kids are. I've seen Metcalf got a chance to come in and play some. But, you got 5 or 6 defensive backs counting the athlete there. And, but I really think they're going to hit that position hard in the portal, too. I think you've got to. And he did mention, and this goes with recruiting, when he was talking about bringing some players, trying to get some players to come back next year, the 2 that he specifically mentioned were Jalen Catalon and Ladarius Bishop, that he specifically like to have back. He said there's 6 to 8 seniors he'd like to have back next year, and those were the only 2 that he actually mentioned by name. He said some defensive linemen. It's not hard to figure out who he's talking about there. So, that's the key is I think they're really going to look hard to secondary in recruiting. And they already have, like you said, they've got commitments there, a bunch of commitments. more than any other position, even more than the lines. But I don't think they're finished there. I think they're going to go for some older players too, and so we'll see. It's a must.
Yeah, the transfer portal, the rules have also changed this year in terms of, well, it's not just the portal, it's how many kids you can actually offer scholarships to. So, and the way the portal works now, it was 7 was the max, right? It's so now the new normal is whatever you lose, you can whoever you lose to the portal, I guess, you can make that amount up in the portal. Is that how this is working this year?
Yeah, it's like basketball. It's like basketball now, Ty, is what it amounts to. You can have 13 scholarships. I'm talking about men's basketball now. You can have 13 on scholarship. Women, you can have 15. But in men, you have 13. Okay. 11 people left the team. So Eric was able to sign 11 players. So Arkansas has allowed 85 kids on scholarship. So if they, for whatever reason, they don't have to be graduation, they could lose the players they lose. Let's say they lose 40 players. Between seniors, kids leaving early for the draft, kids quitting, kids entering the transfer portal, going elsewhere. I'm not saying they're going to lose 40. I'm just throwing that number out there. Okay. Then you've got 23 high school commitments. So that leaves, if they lost 40, which is probably, let's say 35, because 40 is probably excessive, although it may not be. But if you had,
it may not be.
Yeah, it may not be. So I'll stick with 40. You got 23 commitments in high school. So that would leave you 17 scholarships to sign from the portal if you wanted to. So, yeah, you can sign up to 80. You can have 85 kids on scholarship. What they've done away with the 25 yearly limit. That's what they've done away with. And now it's like basketball. It's just like basketball and some other sports. You're allowed a certain number on scholarship, and you can take up to that number. So, and I like that because what was happening, you couldn't keep it at 25, Ty, because if you did, you've got kids leaving and hitting the transfer portal, 10 or 15 kids, 20 leaving for the transfer portal, and you're signing 25, but you lost, say, 18 to 20 seniors. So really, you're only gaining 5 players, and yet you're losing about nearly 40. So you can't. I mean, math tells you they're going to start playing with 55-man rosters or something if they didn't change the rules. So they had to change the rule on the number of scholars, or nothing. It's 85, but I mean how you can get to 85, or they would have had to completely redo the portal. They were going to have to do one or the other because you couldn't keep it the way it was. That wasn't math tells you that wouldn't work.
So it's up to the coach if he wants to sign 25 out of high school and then and he could do more. He could sign 30. He could make the entire class, everything he loses, he could do it all in with high school recruiting, offering scholarships, or they can make that number up in the portal as well. So that makes sense. There you have it. And I kind of thought that was the idea, but I wanted to clarify with you because you're our recruiting guru here.
Well, math tells you if they had to do that, Ty, common sense in math, because like I said, if you'd have kept the deal at 25 and capped it out of class being at 25, you were going to start. You don't preach safety if you're going to do that, because you're going to have about 55 or 60 kids on scholarship after a couple of years. And everybody was going to be, I mean, you might have seen some two-way players and stuff. It was just common sense, and math tells you that there was no way that was going to work. So they either had to clean that up or do something with the portal, change that rules. And right now, I don't know that there's any momentum towards changing the transfer portal. They made some, they changed some dates and stuff with it, simplified it somewhere. It's not just complete wild west, but it's still there. The portal's still there. And as long as the portal's there, there's going to be kids leaving. There's going to be kids coming. And I know when people start after the bowl game this year, people are going to start leaving Arkansas. People are going to start raising hell about it. And then they'll start getting players that's impressive, and people will be happy again. That's just the way it worked last year.
It works. Yeah.
I got home from the bowl game. I'm thinking, man, I got me a slow week ahead from Tampa after driving from Tampa. I'm thinking I got a nice slow week ahead, and man, all Fauché and Brooks left, and all heck broke loose. And I mean,
oh man, it was,
people messing me. They're going to cancel their season tickets and all this. It's like, I don't care. I mean, I don't care. I mean, cancel them. I mean, I'm not paying for them, so I mean, do what
right.
you want with.
Yeah, they clearly need to do, like you said earlier, going back to recruiting for a second, they do need to do work still in the secondary. I do like this class, and someone brought up how good the defensive class is. Nick Lee says the 2023 defensive class is good. I think honestly this is the strongest defensive class so far that they have committed. Now we know they have December, what is it, like the 14th or whatever, when they do the early signing period. But if it stands, I mean, I'm looking at the linebackers I like a lot. Carson Dean has gained a lot of, hell, he got a 4th star.
All 3 of those linebackers are studs. And I'm telling you, the Sanford kid from Oxford, he is what it looks like they've been playing against. I saw him on the hoof, and I think, man, well, I've actually seen all 3 of those kids in person. So,
Brad Spence, too. Brad Spence, 6'3", 225. Moves like a freight train. I mean, he
compared to the kid from the Dallas Cowboys. There was a coach in Houston compared him to the linebacker Micah Parsons from the Dallas Cowboys. Now, I'm not saying that. Don't go on the internet and say Otis Kirk said that. I'm telling you what a high school coach in Houston said. He's the type player, Micah Parsons type player. That's what he said.
Talking about Brad Spence.
Yeah,
or
that's a pretty good compliment, man. That's a pretty good compliment.
Yeah, and he's not small. I mean, he's I said, he's 6'3", and that might even be outdated because last I'd heard that he's someone who could grow into a even bigger frame. He's got a wide frame and he's quick. He moves well. Kind of does all 3 of these linebackers. The DBs I feel really good about. I don't know much about the kid out of Georgia, R.J. Johnson, but everyone else, from what I understand, they really like. Dylan Haas. Luke Haas's brother plays in the secondary, but we'll see what he, out of Bixby, we'll see what they do there. And then, if they hit the portal and they crush it there, I think you're going to see those improvements in the secondary pretty quick, hopefully sooner than later, because they need them badly.
I'll tell you about Johnson. He's a tall kid who's capable of playing wide receiver or corner or play safety, running back. I mean, this kid.
RJ Johnson?
Yeah, he's a great athlete, Ty. Very good
6'3", 180 pounds.
Yeah, and that's legit. I've stood next to him, and I mean, that kid, I'm going to tell you this. I haven't seen him play in person, but I've seen him in person, and I'm telling you, he passes the eyeball test. That's all I can go by without having seen. I've seen tape or video, obviously, but I mean, everybody puts their best plays on a video. That's not. You're going to look good if you don't look good on a highlight film, then there's something wrong with the person that made it. But I'm just telling you, the kid certainly is big. He shouldn't. He's what you look for because he shouldn't get out muscled by these taller wide receivers. Everybody's got. I mean, he could go up with a Matt Landers and hold his own. If you're talking about just size wise, he could go up against a Matt Landers. Not ever. I mean, some kids are 5. I mean, Catalon's 5'10", 5'9", 5'10". So I mean, obviously, that there's a big advantage to being taller. Now, Catalon's the exception in the sense that he can do what he wants at that size, and we proved that. But I'm just saying not everybody can. But Johnson certainly passes the eyeball test.
Let's so these shows, by the way, on Thursday, we're keeping them probably about 30 minutes. We might go a little over, might go a little under, but that's our goal. So we've still got about 12 minutes or so. I wanted to ask you about the in-state comparisons, and I know we've still got a ways to go, but this is something that I'm asked about, especially after the Braylon Russell decommitment from the 2024 class. How would you compare so far 2024 to the 2023 class? Do you think it's going to end up being top heavy? Is it a little bit more filled out? And just maybe some names you can throw out there as well.
I think 2024 is going to be one of the best classes to come out of the state. I think they've got a lot of talent in that, especially at the top. Now, I don't know that there's going to be classes that are bigger numbers wise we've had through the years in the state of Arkansas. But if you talk about at the top, you can talk about Braylon Russell. You can talk running back from Benton, Walker White, the quarterback. There's a quarterback, Walker White at Little Rock Christian. You've got the big lineman, Charleston Collins, Charlie Collins down at Little Rock Mills, TJ Lindsay at Bryant. Those are 2 stud defensive linemen that everybody in the country's offering. And then a kid that a lot of people don't know about is Brian Huff. I mean, they probably read about him. I've written about him, and I know other guys have written about him too. I'm not acting like I'm the one who's written about him, but I'm just saying he doesn't get the publicity. He lives in Valley View, so he's not right there. Those other 4 are right there in Central Arkansas, so that makes a difference. But Brian Huff's at Valley View, about 6'3", 225 linebacker. Fits kind of like the kids they've got committed, Ty. And Brian's going to make a commitment here at the end of the football season, at the end of this year, maybe the calendar year, the football year, whatever. It kind of runs close together if they make the playoffs and go advance a while. But he told me end of the season, end of the year, somewhere in there, he's going to announce a decision. I'm pretty sure it'll be Arkansas. But, they've got their work cut out to get those kids out of Central Arkansas. I think TJ Lindsey's probably going to be a Razorback. I think Collins. I think in the end, it's going to be hard for those kids not to come to Arkansas, but I don't think they're locks. Well, they're not locks by any stretch of the imagination. Well, I'm not saying Huff's a lock, but I'm just saying I feel good about his commitment. There are no locks, but I do feel good about Arkansas getting him.
Well, Braylon Russell was thought to be a lock, and he obviously decommitted, the 4-star out of Benton, 6'1", 225. Is that done and over with? Should Arkansas move on from that situation, or is this just him maybe exploring other options?
I don't think they'll move on. I think there's some issues there. We'll see how that turns out. There's some issues there, but I don't think Arkansas would dare move on. I mean, this kid's good. He's a very good player. Good. So I don't think they move on. I think they'll. Anytime you have a kid committed, an in-state kid particularly, and then he decommits, it kind of opens your eyes and makes you ask some questions, But as far as pulling away from him, I don't see Arkansas doing that. Now, depends on how it plays out in the next few weeks and months, what Arkansas does there. But right now, I don't see them moving on. I really like that 2024 class. The top 5 in it are better than the 2023, I'll be honest with you. But we'll see how deep it is. It's not right now. It doesn't appear to be as deep, maybe, as some of these other classes have been through the years. But the cream at the top is really good, especially with 2 defensive linemen. I mean, you got a quarterback who can run and throw. You got a running back who's about 230 pounds, 2 defensive linemen who everybody in the country wants, and a linebacker about 6'3", 225. So I mean, there's not anything there to not like, Ty, in that class.
Walker White is impressive. I actually talked to someone who got to watch him play, and they're pretty impressed. And this is someone who watched Mitch Mustain, who watched Cody Burns, who watched these guys. And he said that Walker White is up there. I mean, he is up there as far as a passing quarterback. The dude can get it done, and he has the ability to escape the pocket too.
Yeah, no, he's a mobile quarterback. He's not going to mind you maybe of KJ Jefferson, but he's not going to be a Tom Brady either. I mean, I'm telling you, the kid can escape. I mean, he's got some mobility, and
he's actually bigger than KJ out of high school. I think KJ wasn't he like 6'3", 210?
Like 215, 210, something like that.
That's exactly what Walker White is. Who knows? Maybe they got their next KJ right there.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you that play Saturday where he got out. You and I talked about that after the game where he escaped 3 tackles. That was pretty impressive. Like that. Biggest thing impressive about that to me was, though, he still had the thought to not just tuck the ball and run. He found Trey Knox, and it turned out to be
found his check down.
Very long gainer, very long gainer. Because usually when you escape something like that, you're just content to just run the ball and try to save the play. Not him. He had the awareness to see Trey Knox standing all along, find him, and Trey made a couple miss him, and he got it. That turned into a long gainer.
It did. That was a great play. It was a great that's a high IQ play, if you ask me. Not only just the hustle and the strength, but for KJ to do that had to turn some heads. We know those NFL scouts are at practice. We see them.
Oh, yeah.
So I wonder if maybe that was something that stood out for him. Also, I want to clarify. I'm not saying Walker White is the next KJ. No, KJ is a physical, bigger being. I mean, his stature alone, and he's also 200, and right now he's 240 or 235, 240.
235, 240, 245. I think it varies, but yeah, he's a big kid. I mean, he and Rocket Sanders in that backfield are 2 big kids. I mean, those are guys that make me hurt just thinking about them running over me. I mean, my body hurts just thinking of that. Either one of them.
That's a lot of weight. That's a lot of strength and power coming
at you. And they're fast. They're both fast.
Yeah,
I mean, Rocket's faster, I think, than KJ. But, I mean, neither one's slow, and they're big, and they're fast. They're well muscled up. They're not fat kids. They're very muscled up. I mean, they're not bad. Well, I've seen quarterbacks with guts sticking over, and you don't see that with KJ. I mean, You know, you don't see very many running backs with big guts, but I've seen quarterbacks, even in college, that had. I saw the kid from Kentucky years ago, the big left-hander. I forget his name.
Linson, are you talking about the Kentucky quarterback?
Yeah, Jared Lorenzen. That was it.
Yeah.
I saw him play in person.
Rest in peace.
Jared Lorenzen was his name, I think. And I saw him play in person. And I'm telling you, he had a gut hanging. His gut was worse than mine ever was, man. I mean, that was a big kid. And I don't mean just muscle either.
We're not trying to be disrespectful. He did pass away a couple of years ago. We're not being disrespectful, but you're right.
No, I'm not being disrespectful.
His nickname was the Hefty Lefty. I mean,
yeah, no, he was. I mean, the kid, he could move better than you thought he could, though. I'm telling you, he was one heck of a quarterback. I don't care if he had what kind of gut he had. I mean, the kid could play. Yeah. Oh, I'm not being disrespectful. I mean, it's a compliment. I mean, he was one heck of a quarterback. He gave the Hogs all they wanted that night. I mean, he would not. He was relentless. No,
I remember that he turned around to the crowd and he asked them where they were going. I remember that like it was. That game was exciting. That was a really fun game. Since we're talking about KJ a little bit, someone wanted to know, and I don't know where the comment is. Oh, there it is. Nick Lee wants to know, is KJ going to the draft this year? I'll just say the only way he makes the draft, and I was actually going to make a short audio for the Patreon supporters of Test Talk on this, but I'll just go ahead and share it here. I think the only way KJ should consider the pros is if he has a performance similar to what he did against BYU from here on out. Yeah. I don't know that he's a pro prospect yet. I think he's going to have to earn that spot to be someone that's talked about. I don't know that he'll make anybody's short list this year. I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's going to have a similar performance. I'm not saying he's got to throw for the amount of yards and have 5 touchdowns. I'm not saying that, but he needs to be somewhere in that neighborhood week in and week out. For him to I think to even consider going pro.
I'm gonna tell you what, they've got the kid Richardson kid from Florida on one of them having number 3 quarterback.
That is true.
I don't see it. I mean, I'm sorry.
True.
I honestly, judging by how Arkansas usually works here, I look for KJ to probably, if he continues to play well, I look for him to probably to go to the draft. I really do.
You think so?
I think so because, like I said, in Arkansas, they tend to go maybe a year before you think they should. And he may look at it, what do I have to prove by coming back? I mean, he had a good year last year. And I'm saying this with no inside, so I don't want anybody to think, oh, he knows what KJ's doing. No, I haven't asked the coach. I haven't asked KJ. Not that KJ would share it with me, but I haven't. No, I haven't. I'm just saying that if he continues to play well, and don't forget I said if he continues to play like and like Ty said, it doesn't have to be 5 touchdowns or the yardage he got against BYU. But if he continues to play really well the rest of the year, I look for him to probably leave. But maybe he won't. I would love to see KJ come back. If he leaves, Arkansas is really kind of in a pinch. I mean, you've got Malik and you've got Malachi. You've got 2 scholarship quarterbacks. So what do you do for the third one? Do you go to the portal? If you go to the portal, does that tick off Malik? I mean, they're in a bind if he goes to pros because they're down to 2 scholarship quarterbacks and they'll have 3. Well, if KJ comes back, does Malik stay? So I don't know. They may still just be at 2, even if he stays. So quarterback recruiting with the portal is it's wacky, man. It really is.
It's Pandora's box. You open it up and with the NIL stuff, and it's chaos. I mean, it makes it impossible. And then, like you said, today kids hear, they got people whispering in their ears about, what they should do. Sometimes it's family, sometimes it's friends, whatever, people on Twitter, but people rush into his DMs. Well, it's a different world. Not that hasn't always been the case, but it's a different world. So there is, I could see, it wouldn't shock me to see him go pro, but he just doesn't right now look to me like someone who, I don't know.
He's not on the list of Kuiper and those guys, the people that put those draft deals out right now. He's not even showing up as their top 25 quarterback. So if that's the case, then he needs to look long and hard about coming back but they've got guys like Richardson, Florida on there and one of them, somebody I saw had him number 3 quarterback. And if he's the number 3 quarterback, then I'm going to be KJ's agent, because there's no way Richardson's the number 3 quarterback in this draft, man. There's just no way.
They have Will Levis, or however you pronounce his name, from Kentucky as like the number 1 quarterback out of the SEC, either right in front of or right behind Bryce Young, which is, I mean, I'm not saying he's not a great quarterback. I just don't know. What am I missing?
Yeah, they do stuff in the NFL, and I can project a kid from high school, and I'm actually and I'm not bragging on myself. I don't want to sound like that, but I mean,
you should, though.
I've always had success. Pretty much, and I've missed on kids. Heck, college coaches miss on kids, and they got a lot more access to the records and stuff than I do. But I'm always had a pretty good eye for evaluating where a kid from high school to college could play. But as far as college to NFL, I've never had a good knack for that. I mean, kids I think can't miss kids in the NFL get up there and never really do anything. I mean, McFadden never had the career in the pros that I thought he would have. He had success. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, we all knew he'd have success. I thought he'd be a lot better than he was. I could go on and on. I mean, there's just been kids that I thought would do well, both from Arkansas and other schools too, in the NFL, and they haven't. So I've never had much of a knack for that. So, but to me, KJ is a lot better than a lot of those quarterbacks. I was looking at one of their top 25 lists, and I thought KJ's better than 15 or 20 of those kids.
Yeah, I don't know how he doesn't make their top 25. That's ludicrous. And by the way, I'm not saying that if he were to put his name in the draft that he wouldn't get drafted. I just don't know that he would be where he would want to end up as a top 3 round quarterback. I mean, he might be. I don't know.
There's no projections saying he would get top 3 or top 5 right now. Rounds. There's not
one
top 5
yet.
Rounds even. And now I don't know if there's any projections even saying he would get drafted. Maybe there is. I haven't spent a whole lot of time, I'll be honest with you, digging through that stuff. But I have looked at Kiper and McShay's list. And I've scratched my head on some of those picks because either they know something I don't know, which they probably, I'm sure they know a lot that I don't know about the NFL draft. But I'm just saying, I watch these kids play and I'm thinking, what are they seeing that I'm not? And production.
Look, Levis out of Kentucky might be the real deal. Bryce Young might be the real deal. Well, I mean, we know Bryce Young, what he's capable of. He's also surrounded by the best talent that college football has to offer. That always helps.
Hooker is a good quarterback. Hooker is a very good quarterback.
Hooker is a good quarterback. Yeah. I've been impressed with him. Not going to lie. I think he's taken that step that we kind of thought, well, with Heupel in that offense, I kind of thought maybe Arkansas would be somewhere in that neighborhood on offense where Tennessee's at right now. I'm not saying they'd be obviously they're different. You know, they pass the ball extremely well, but in that neighborhood of being one of the top 3 offenses in the SEC, they're not far out. They're kind of in the middle of the pack. Now that number is going to drop because of the bye week, but I think Arkansas's offense is fine, but Hooker's been the real deal at Tennessee.
Arkansas's offense is going to have to win these games going forward. I don't care how many people they get healthy during the bye week. The Arkansas offense is going to have to win the games going forward, Ty. And they're capable of doing it in all 5 games. Now, all 5 teams they've got left are capable of beating Arkansas. So there's not a lock left on the schedule, and that includes Liberty. I've had people try to tell me that was a lock for Arkansas. No, it's not. But the Arkansas offense is capable of, especially if KJ can stay healthy, they can win the next 5 games. But the offense is going to have to do it, and we'll see if they can do it. And if they do it, now I expect the Ole Miss game to be just like last year, absolute shootout. I was in Oxford for that, and I'm telling you, that was an absolute. Arkansas was a 2-point conversion, a shovel pass to Dominic Johnson away from winning that game.
Should have won it, and I know Ole Miss ended up with more wins, but I felt like Arkansas was a tad bit better than Ole Miss last year. Yeah. This year, I don't know. I think Ole Miss is overrated. I don't think they're top 10. You look at their schedule, who the hell have they beaten?
Their defense is going to be the question mark, just like Arkansas is. And I don't think they've played the schedule that Arkansas has to get exposed. I think their defense is going to be their shortcoming, but I think they can have a lot of success running on 5 men in the box that Arkansas is going to present. I'm telling you, that Arkansas Ole Miss game, you better bring your calculators to that, people, because I'm telling you, it is going to be a shootout.
Yeah,
that means there'll probably be 10-7 Arkansas or Ole Miss at the end of the day after I'm getting on here and talking about it's going to be a shootout. But no, I really expect that to be just like last year. It may not be 51-50, but I mean, it's going to be a lot of scoring.
Really quick, and that's actually a good transition. You talked about guys getting healthy. That's going to be our final thing we talk about. But, yeah, I agree with you. I think Arkansas's strength of schedule has been legit. One of the toughest. I kind of thought maybe we'd be looking back like, oh, well, these teams aren't as good as I thought. Cincinnati might prove me wrong. I don't know if they belong in the top 25 or not, but they've got.
They're there, though. They are there.
They are there. They are. I like I've said, their talent is above their strength of schedule.
Yeah, and that's a game I didn't get to see, so I really don't. I mean,
I've watched them a little bit
play this year. Yeah,
I've watched them a little bit. They're a solid football team, but they don't. You look at their schedule; it's not good.
And they even had what was it, James Madison in the top 25 last week, and I saw that. I mean, come on! I mean,
crazy.
Somebody really think James Madison can compete in the SEC? I mean, come on! There's 10 or 12 teams in the SEC that would beat them. I mean, come on.
Same. And I feel the same way about Cincinnati. I think there's about 8 teams in the SEC that would beat them. Arkansas obviously is one of them.
Maybe all the teams in the West would, Ty.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not even counting Tennessee, Kentucky. I'm sorry. Well, yeah, Kentucky, Georgia, and them in the East. But I'm just saying the 7 teams in the SEC West, they might all beat Cincinnati.
I think they would, which is why I have a hard time putting them in the top 25.
Auburn might not, but the rest of them would.
They have a couple of tough games coming up, so we'll see. We'll see if Cincinnati. They
got
Gus Malzahn.
They are very well coached. That guy can really coach. I mean, he is a good coach. He really is. I wish I could have seen that game, but I was fighting for my life that day.
Yeah, well, it was interesting. You could tell Arkansas very similar to South Carolina. They just had a hard time putting them away, but you just knew Arkansas wasn't going to win or wasn't going to lose that game. All right, injury updates. We'll transition there. This will be our final segment. Taurean Carter, we got a little bit of an update on him.
Yeah,
that's big news. Although I would table it for some people who think he's going to return sooner than later. So we'll get an update on that. We know Jalen Catalon's out for the year. Ladarius Bishop's out for the year, but Sam Pittman said that he expects everybody back outside of Catalon, Bishop, and Carter for Auburn.
If you get everybody back for Auburn, that gives you everything you can ask for, Ty. If you can get Slusher back on the field, because he's been out more than he's been in. He got hurt in Cincinnati, then he got re-injured early in the Alabama game, so he's been out more than he's in. But if you get those guys back, you got the Johnsons, Malik, the 2 Johnsons, and that's about all you can ask for there. Is get those 4 back. Bumper Poole and Jaden Hazelwood are beat up, but they've been continuing to play. Sam said he thinks both of them can get healthy enough to be better than what they've been, because they both played well, but they're playing very injured. They're just beat up, but they're still getting on the field. I think 2 weeks will give them a great shot at getting rested up on Poole and Hazelwood, and we'll see what happens, And we found out Warren Thompson was not an injury. That was a suspension for the first half of the BYU game, disciplinary deal. Tykees Crawford and the center, going blank on his name, but the backup center, they didn't make. I'm sorry, what?
Henderson.
Yeah, Henderson. I don't know why I went blank on that, but Tykees Crawford, Marcus Henderson, they didn't make the trip to BYU, but they'll be ready to play against, if they're needed, against Auburn. But no, it's going to be an interesting situation, because I still think, and I said before the BYU game, and I probably said it, well, I don't think I was on here, but if I had been, I'd have said it on here. I said, I think that's Auburn's the key game. I really do. I mean, I think there's a lot of the season rides on Auburn. If Arkansas can go down there and win, then they're 5-3, and then they've got a November schedule that is doable. Doesn't mean it's easy. It's not. There's nothing been easy about this schedule. And I knew Missouri State wouldn't be. That was the one game you could point to and say it probably should be easy, but where it was sandwiched in between the Cincinnati and in the games it was sandwiched in between, I knew it wouldn't. South Carolina, Alabama, and A&M, I knew it wouldn't be easy, but we'll see. I mean, but it is a doable schedule in November. And no, I don't think Auburn's self-destruct. I watched them play Ole Miss the other day, and they didn't look like they were self-destructive to me. They looked like they gave Ole Miss all they wanted and then some down there.
Yeah.
I'm talking about
they're salty. They're kind of salty. Like you expect, like, oh well, they're going to get blown out, and they don't.
No, their offense is going to give this defense some problems, even if Arkansas gets all those players back. I think Arkansas will win the game, but I'm telling you, I don't think they're going to self-destruct. I think some of the Auburn fans are hoping they do so they can fire their coach. That's crazy, but I think they're hoping more than Arkansas fans that they self-destruct. I think some people at Auburn would be very happy if they did.
That sounds familiar.
They've kind of circled the wagons and not doing that.
That sounds very familiar, like what Arkansas fans wanted with another certain head coach.
Yeah, wasn't very many sad when Western Kentucky ran him off the field over here in Razorback Stadium. It wasn't a matter if he got fired after that. It was just a matter of, was it going to be tonight or is it going to be the next day? I sent a message and they told me, go to bed and get some rest. It's not going to be tonight. Because, I didn't even ask if he's getting fired. I said, when? And I got a message back from somebody who knew and said, go ahead and get some rest and get some sleep. It's not going to be tonight. And, they didn't say it'd be tomorrow, but they didn't have to.
Yeah. Well, that's the situation in Auburn. And, hey, good. I'm glad they're dealing with it. Forget them. That game was stolen from Arkansas in 2020. So hopefully Arkansas can get some redemption in Auburn, Alabama. Because they're one of those teams, them and A&M. It doesn't matter if Arkansas is as good or better. It feels like they're cursed against these two teams. And I can't figure it out. I cannot figure it out for the life of me. A&M fans will just say, oh, well, it's just because we're better and we have more talent. No, that's not the case every year. Not over that span of a decade. I think there were a couple of years there Arkansas was better. And the same with Auburn. And then you look at how 2020 went down. Like, it's just, man, it feels like it's long overdue to beat Auburn.
Yeah.
And hopefully
they've had Arkansas's number. There's no doubt. Alabama's had their number simply because Alabama's Alabama, but Auburn and Auburn, no. Arkansas, like you said, actually beat them in 2020. Everything was up on the scoreboard, and the refs gave that game to Auburn, handed it to them on a platter. Backward,
sure did.
Spiked that ball backwards. That's a fumble. Joe Fauché fell on it. They said they lied and said no one was going after it. Joe Fauché laid on the ball. Man, come on.
That was that's still the foul ball in the College World Series against Omaha State. Sure, that is still the most painful, but that against Auburn just kills me. And of course the Sterner fumble. I was in eighth grade when that happened, and those plays were all
Burrow's foot, and that was the beginning of the end of that game.
And I think from that point on, I knew this even in eighth grade. I was 14 when that happened. I knew even then this team is not going to be the same. And they weren't after that loss. They were not the same. I stand by that. They lost the next week to Mississippi State.
And then they lost the bowl game to Brady and Michigan. I was down in Orlando at that game. And they won, I believe it was at LSU. I guess they beat in Little Rock to wrap up the season when LSU wasn't very good. They won. That was the only game they won after the Tennessee game. That's that particular season. They won the final game of the season. It was in Little Rock. I believe it was LSU. And but whoever it was, Arkansas won that game, and then they went to the bowl game, lost to a very good Michigan team.
Yeah, they did. That was a good Michigan team. But I always look back on that and I think, and they former players have kind of hinted to this, but they felt like they should have been in a bigger, more meaningful bowl. But it all stemmed from that, from that loss against Tennessee. It kind of took the air out. And listen, that happens. That happened this year after the KJ fumble against A&M. That team just didn't look the same, I think. And I'm not just saying that because they lost those games. They had a hard time picking themselves up.
They didn't look the same again until the BYU game. That play down there, and I was just hoping the Simeon Blair pass interference on fourth down against BYU didn't have the same effect. Boy, that was just, those type plays are the type of momentum changers. And Arkansas got out of BYU with the win, and they were forcing it because they had some errors there, but they won, and they were 4-3, just like I predicted, not with games, though. I thought they beat A&M and lose to BYU, but they didn't. But Honestly, they should be 5-2 right now. Is where Arkansas should be at 5-2. Lost to Alabama and lost to Mississippi State. Those are games that those teams beat Arkansas. Although I will say this real quick, I'd love to have seen that holding call on Jordan Dominic when they hang by the face mask. It's 23-21 or whatever it is. Alabama's up, but like 23-21 or 28-23, I believe at the time. I'd love to have seen them have to punt right there in Arkansas with all the momentum, 28-23, and punt, and Arkansas gets the ball at midfield. I'd love to have seen what would happen against Alabama. I'm sure Alabama would have found a way to win the game like they always do, but it would have been interesting.
Yeah, for sure. There's always those plays you can look back and go, what if? Seems like Arkansas has a lot of those over the years.
I just don't know how you miss a guy with a face mask out in the left tackle out in the open, got a guy with a face mask, leading him to water, and you can't see that, but you can see everything else. I mean, come on.
Yeah. They got a taste of their own medicine from the officiating against Tennessee. Everyone I know that watched that game said, I'm glad they lost. But there were so many missed calls on Tennessee. They got away with a lot. And, everyone can say that. But
I'm proud that it didn't break my heart. I didn't see the game, but I didn't either.
I haven't watched it. I haven't watched it. Final question, and we'll just wrap it up with this. Bloodline says, does J-Cat come back ever? He says he's doubtful.
I don't think he will. And I'll tell you why. Because if he comes back another year and gets hurt again, then you can – the way it is right now, he's had 2 key injuries in a row, 2 years in a row, played 7 games, parts of 7 games, I think it was 6 last year. I know it's that Ole Miss was the last game last year, played Cincinnati this year, had 7 games, and you come back and you get hurt, say the opener or the next, or you get hurt next year. Right now, he's still rated among the top safeties in the NFL draft, even not playing. So he could go to the combine, have a great showing, and he will. He's that type player. I don't think he'll come back. I think he's got too much to lose by coming back. I could be wrong. He is one of the players, I will say, he is one of the players that Sam mentioned. He was going to ask to come back. So, but Sam asking him to come back and him doing it, it's 2 different things. I mean, he asked Monteric and John Ridgway and those guys last year, and we know how that turned out. So, but Sam wants him back, obviously. Well, I mean, that's a no-brainer that Sam wants him back. I'm sure every Arkansas fan. Heck, I'm in the media, and I'd like to see him come back because it'll make Arkansas better. But it's a lot to risk for the kid, and I don't think he will. But there again, that's just my opinion on it.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And basically everything you just said. He is injury prone, and that is something that the NFL is going to look at. I mean, I don't know how many reports that I've read just based on what they've given to the public. Being a Ram fan, well, one of the things that's stated it'll be at the bottom, and they'll say struggle to stay healthy through college career.
They look at that. That's a big thing, man. You got to look at it because I tell you what, me being a Laker fan, I can tell you what it's like not having Anthony Davis on the court as opposed to having him on the court. I'm telling you, man, the injuries are. Ask the Bulls fan about Lonzo Ball. I mean, I'm telling you, injuries. You've got to look at the injury factor on a player. You've got to, because if you don't, you're playing with fool's gold. I mean, it's just you're kidding yourself if you don't think that matters.
And so I think because of that, if I were someone, and probably thank God that he's not, but if I were someone he went to for that kind of information or that kind of advice, I would probably say it'd be in your best interest to prove to the NFL that you can play an entire season healthy, whether that's at Arkansas or wherever. That's up to you, but. I think you ought to show the NFL that you're capable of playing a full season because he never has. His freshman year, he got hurt. His sophomore year, he got hurt. Of course, he played more his redshirt freshman year, but then his redshirt sophomore year, he gets hurt, and then this year. So I don't know. And it's extended period of time. It's not like a game or two. It's half the season, and that's happened back-to-back years. So
versus the whole season this year. I mean, you throw out the Cincinnati game, it's the entire season. So that's a lot to expect. If he came back and had a year where he stayed healthy and played all year, we know that helped his stock tremendously.
Oh, gosh.
It's a big gamble on his part, and I just don't think
it would be. Yeah.
It's a big gamble. I don't think he'll take it, Ty.
Yeah, and that's why I don't blame him if he doesn't, and I don't think anybody can. No Hog fans should. You ought to respect his decision. Let him do what he thinks is best for him and his. He's going to make money. He's got film. He is a very impressive safety and could do really well. Maybe he'll play at Cam Curl's level. Look at him. graded out as one of the highest rated players in Washington. You know, I know that's not saying much, but
Kim Curl's a great
proud of him.
safety, and I knew that he played on some crappy teams at Arkansas. But I'm telling you,
boy.
if Catalon gets drafted and some team gets him, and he will get drafted, I don't mean if. I said if, but if Catalon goes to pros and the team that drafts him, if he stays healthy, they're going to get one heck of a player. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm staggering around with my words, but I'm just trying to say when he gets drafted, if he stays healthy, they're going to be very pleased with their pick, whichever team that is.
I think so too.
And play for anybody.
Yeah, I would love for him to get what is his, because I do think he is first round. I think he is first round talent. I do.
He's got the talent. That's not. It's going to be durability. It's not talent. It's going to be durability.
It's durability.
Whatever you want to call that. But that's what's going to be the question on him, not talent. He's got. Some might question his size, but if you ever turn on the film and watch him play, or come to Razorback Stadium and watch him play, you'll figure out real quick that size is not a detriment to him. It is. It would be to 90% of the players at that size, tied safeties, but not to Jalen Catalon. Anybody that thinks that, they're not. They haven't seen him play.
Yeah. All right. Well, okay. We definitely went over the 30 minutes, but this was a lot of good content for you guys. Or whether it was good or not is up to you. But I think we had a pretty good show. We always have a good time. We hope you guys do too. Remember to like, share, subscribe to Hogville Net. I will be live again tomorrow on Tuss Talk with Ty. I'm probably going to kind of grade out the season and kind of go over some more stuff. But Otis, thank you so much for taking time out of your day today, and look forward to hearing from you again soon.
We'll see you, Ty.
Take it easy, man.
See you, man. Talk to you later.